Okay, so the last couple of days, I've booted up Steam and I've come to this error message. Steam product code you have activated has been removed from your account. And this one is Urban War Defense. Now, here's what's interesting. Let's find Urban War Defense. This game is still in early access, and as you can see here, key revocation mistake. Let's take a look at this. Okay, so basically this is saying he made a mistake or the system made a mistake. From what I understand, let's go ahead and open this. Let's see if this opens. Here is something interesting. This is someone speculating though. But from what I understand, this developer, whoever, seller of the game on Steam, publisher, whatever, I think it's a self-published game, started revoking keys because of some appearing from Indie Gala and they weren't getting money. That's one story I have read. Keep in mind, a lot of this is hearsay. However, the Groupies key, which is the one that I have, because I bought this off of the Groupies Greenlight bundle back in 2014, that was also revoked. Let's see here. See, this is also people speculating the same thing. And they're saying they did pay them. And they're providing a receipt. Okay, so that's the current status update. So they're apparently working on it. Of course, a lot of people are not very happy. But this is an interesting issue that is just now coming up on Steam. Because now, companies have the ability to revoke any sort of keys they deem. Of course, probably not through the Steam store itself. But you never know. In theory, it was always possible for a developer before they abandon or jump ship to send out one final patch that broke a game. And for instance, I mean, that's nothing new. You can argue that with MMOs that breaks the game. Like for instance, I have where is it? I have a couple of Age of Empires Online DLCs. Well, not DLCs. You had to buy the game in piecemeal in order to play the full content. I don't know if I had the whole game, but basically, even though I played most of that by myself, this game is entirely unplayable. Now, there's another game that I've heard of this happening. Insanely Twisted Shadow Planet, which is a pretty old game here. Let's take a look here. Where are we at here? And as you can see, a lot of the reviews are really old. So here's one of the more recent ones. They're talking about the same thing. So let's look here. Now this one allegedly has been because of fraud. You can see here 8 months after this bundle here, which was February 2018, and their allegations are that that's a fraud bundle. But here's the problem. So in a case like this, right, the dev is obviously thinking that they got ripped off by a bundle and these keys are out there, that they can turn basically a negative into like a sort of neutral ground by revoking the key. However, if you revoke the key from somebody, is that going to make you want to buy the game from them? If anything, that creates a situation where you damage your reputation in the long run. So you turn a negative from you into a negative for the consumer. Meanwhile, the company that was paid for the key, regardless of how they got them, is more or less going to be off scot-free. They're going to be relatively unscathed by this. unless, of course, they offer a refund. Then, in theory, I mean, depending on how they got the key, if they think they got it legitimately, they are now the losing party in that situation. If, for instance, they paid for it. So it's just a very slimy situation because I can understand you want to combat something like this. However, you're damaging yourself in the long run because someone like, say, Milo here, looks like he still has it. For instance, if they had that removed and they didn't know why, they're not going to jump to the store page to buy it. They're going to be confused, like I am here, as I bought this game in a Greenlight bundle a long time ago, and I had it on Desura. However, Desura is down, so keep that in mind. I'm showing my games list here because this is a nightmare. You're going to want to start backing up your games that you have because some of these are going to start disappearing, it feels like. That's my concern, and after losing Desura, which often, where we go, let me go back here. After losing Desura, I have lost a ton of games, and I've been trying to track down the ones I have. However, Urban War Defense, which I thought was safe because it was on Steam, turns out it is not safe because it is on Steam. It's kind of like DRM if you think about it. Now, piracy is slightly different because someone might look for a game online and they might just find a pirated copy and download it, and then if the DRM is done in a creative way, like I'm trying to think of a couple of times. I think Arma 2 had like a weird difficulty spike. They might think, oh, this game isn't legitimate. I need to get the real game. Well, in other cases, you have DRM in like Ubisoft titles where the pirates strip the DRM and the games tend to work better at launch and kind of screw over the paying customer. Now, in the case of keys, you might look for a game online, find a deal through a shady website. However, since you paid for that, you're going to think it's legitimate, and you're not going to think about, hey, this is an illegitimate purchase. You're going to think, why was this removed? Especially when there are false removals like this one. So it's sort of, I'm guessing it comes from the piracy and like piracy and fraudulent, in quotation, Steam keys sort of come from the same space of wanting to protect your property. However, you have to think about the repercussions of removing such a thing because in the end, you might be screwed as a developer. However, you do not want to screw over someone who does not know any better, that are not as in tune with the weird sort of backwater Steam marketplace that's out there that sort of thrives off of keys that are, if you think about it, every single key is generated legitimately. It's just how they're sold, so it's just a no-win situation. And I think this system should be axed because it's not. This isn't going to be the last time I think this happens. This is probably going to get worse.